We're in trouble, folks. We're in trouble. 2 Russian intercepts in 2 days. That's right. NORAD reporting that on both Monday and Tuesday of this week, 2 U.S. F-35 jets intercepted Russian fighter aircraft as they approached Alaska's air defense identification zone. That's Aerospace. Both times, it was a big Russian intercontinental bomber, the Tu-95 Bear, and assorted fighter jet escorts. The time before that, on Monday, there were a couple of F-16s that intercepted another 4 Russian aircraft of basically that same type. Now, as you'd expect, our friends at NORAD downplayed them both. They called it situation normal and completely routine. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about, really. Let me remind everyone of a few things. Number one, there is a war waging in Ukraine. We have sent over billions of dollars of aid, weapons, and munitions to the extent that the Pentagon is now reviewing its arms stockpile after seeing how fast our ammunition has been drained during the war. In fact, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, said the analysis could result in an increase in his request for the military's already over $800 billion budget. And this is especially as concerns grow over the security in another little area called Taiwan and China. If a war breaks out in the Taiwan Strait between these two about those chips that we recently talked about, well, all bets are off. Here we go again. And you may have missed this earlier in the week. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg announced that, quote, Ukraine is consuming an enormous amount of munitions and depleting Allied stockpiles. Then he admitted many times higher than our current rate of production and puts our defense industries under strain. No kidding. Meanwhile, we keep shooting little balloons out of the sky with $400,000 missiles. But we're told there's nothing to worry about. Well, we just heard from a reputable investigative reporter, a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter, Seymour Hersh, that the U.S. was behind the Nord Stream pipeline destruction. Destruction, I remind you, of Russian state-owned property. This is not merely an act of aggression. This is quite potentially an act of war. Russia will retaliate. They will retaliate. They must. But again, we're told that those little jets we intercepted, that bomber we intercepted, there's nothing to worry about, folks. There's nothing to worry about, folks. I'm even getting reports from you, our wolf pack, that some of you living near military installations are seeing and hearing activity like you've never heard before. One of you wrote me this morning, quote, I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we have aerospace activity, but there is something very unusual going on. There have been F-16s flying overhead for nearly every 3 minutes. At least there's one, often it sounds like 3 at a time. This is relentless. We have a thunderstorm and it's raining here, but they're still flying. Temperatures fell from 70 to 50. It'll be 30 by sunrise. This is not the kind of weather conditions you run trial flights in, end quote. Now, Tulsa is home to the 138th Fighter Wing of the Oklahoma Air National Guard. And as I did a little investigation, their Facebook page says what exactly we would expect. We're just practicing. We're just practicing. Pilots and crews are required to train at night to maintain readiness and all-weather capabilities. We limit night operations to what's absolutely required to maintain proficient in night flying training. So there you go. Again, nothing to worry about, folks. Now, that's just here. In the war zone itself, we have Russian reconnaissance and fighter jets on the outskirts of Polish airspace, probing, pushing, and they know how to get under NATO's skin. We hear from an open source intelligence group called Oryx that Putin has lost up to half of his operational tank fleet that he sent into the Ukraine since the start of the Ukraine war. Russia started with 3,000 tanks. 1,000 have been destroyed. 79 have been damaged. 65 completely abandoned. And a whopping 544 have been captured by Ukrainian forces. Well, that explains why we're sending more tanks to Ukraine. They've only captured 544, in addition to the thousands that they already have. But despite this, we have reliable intelligence from military sources that the Russians are gearing up for a major offensive as we come to the 1-year anniversary on February 24th. Remember that? Remember that little Russian special operation a year ago that has continued to suck resources, to suck our resources into that war? Well, no doubt, we are going to have some "we're still here" fireworks from one or both sides, and it's going to be interesting. Let's face it, these are not signs of you have nothing to worry about. The world is getting scarier. Putin is getting more desperate. Xi is getting more aggressive. And we're sitting here popping balloons. Thanks for tuning in, Wolfpack. Let me tell you, if you have something you see or hear and you want me to look at, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my very best to get at it. Until then, keep fighting the fight and keep on prepping.